Using the Wiro binding system is actually pretty easy once you get the hang of it. There's essentially only two steps. The first being punching of the holes, the second being the application of the wire. When you're punching the holes, there's a series of slats in the back of the machine, which you can see here. These slats indicate which of the holes will be punched and which won't. The slats pull up and down, and when they're down, this means that they'll punch a hole. If they're pulled up, it won't. In order to know which holes you want to punch for the cover or the interior pages, we've gone ahead and marked this on the machine. C for cover, and then an 11 for 11-inch, which is the long edge of a standard size letter sheet of paper. We'll zoom on here in a sec, but essentially the process is that you pull up the slats that you don't want to punch until you get to the C for cover, if we were doing the cover. So there's 5 in the back and 1 up front. Additionally, there's this little spindle that comes on the edge of the machine. This spindle acts as a bump for the paper. You'll essentially take your covers, stick it in this hole here, and slide it up against that bumper. It's important that the bumper is set to the correct setting for whatever you're punching, be it the covers or the interior pages. If you're doing the covers, again, we've gone ahead and marked this bumper with a C, so you know exactly where the setting is supposed to be. So again, the slats are pulled up that need to be pulled up. All the ones that are outside of the C on the far end and the C on the close end. The bumper is set to the C setting, and we've got our covers, front and back, oriented accordingly. What you want to do is give them a good tap, drop them in the hole and tap them down and make sure they're secure in there, and then slide both against the bumper. You want them to be as flush and aligned as possible, which will happen naturally if they're packed tight. Now once you have the papers in there and the correct slats down and the bumper set, you use this top arm to crunch down and back up. And with any luck, you'll have a perfect bind on there. Now for the interior pages, because these are actually smaller size than the cover, we'll need to do it a little differently. So again, we've gone ahead and marked on the machine here the 11, which indicates the 11-inch sheet of paper. It's a simple one slat offset, so we'll push down the one at the far end and pull up one at the back end. And then what we're going to do is on this little rotator, we'll switch that to the 11 side, and it should be good to go. Again, tap it down for alignment, drop in the edge that's going to be bound, make sure it's in there tight, and tap it up against the bumper there. Crunch down, and back up. And again, another perfect bind. So for the next part here, we're going to actually apply the Wiro. We should have our punched covers here and our punched interior pages. We'll start with the punched interior pages. Lay them out on a flat surface. Get your Wiros, which typically come in a very large box like that. Take one out and lay it down in front of the stacks of paper. All you're going to want to do at this point is make sure all those pages are tight. If you're doing a big presentation, you can do it in little bunches, and slide it around the small end of the Wiro. Next, assuming you put your front cover up on the interior page, you're going to want to take that report cover and place it right over top. You're then going to want to take the back report cover and place it on top of that as such that it had swung over the front. And what this does is when we go to bind it, it'll hide the seam that's created in here. Next, what we're going to want to do is check the size of the Wiro itself, and that's typically on the edge of the box here. There we go. These are 7/16. On the front, here, there's this little knob right here. What you're going to want to do is unscrew that knob and slide it down to the 7/16 mark. There's a little red line that indicates exactly where it is on there. And screw that in tight. Then, with your Wiro in place and all your pages in there, you're going to take the two edges in the back there and push them to the far back of this particular area in the machine. Sometimes it helps to hold it in place, but once you get in there, you should be able to take your hands out, which is important for not crushing your fingers. Simply clamp down on here, firm until you feel it squish. Give it a little firm squish again, and let it back up. And now we should have a closed Wiro. Flip over your back page, and it's done. Ta-da!